Hello everybody! Today we are going to be making a coloring book. I'm going to make the title page, one coloring page, and an eraser. This is what we're going to be working on today. This is the 4x4. It does come in 4x4 and 5x7. All of my coloring books come in 4x4 and 5x7 except for the Connect the Dots book, and it's only 5x7. Each file comes with 4 coloring pages, the title page, and the eraser. And so of course you can mix and match all you want to. They're all different. So I'm going to start by doing the title page first. I'm going to do the title page and then a coloring page and then an eraser. I'm working on my coloring book. It's called the coloring pages, and I'm going to be doing the sub coloring page. If y'all want to follow along, those are at embroideryplayground.me. Alright, I'm going to turn you around here. I've got the title page file loaded to the machine already. Like I said, I am doing the 5x7. For the coloring pages, I use 12 gauge clear vinyl and a piece of felt. And then just whatever vinyl or felt I want to put on for the backing. Our first step will be the placement box for the zipper. See, it's our little placement box, and we're going to put our zipper down with the zipper pull, just like we do a bag. The zipper pull will be off to the left of the box. So I've got my zipper tacked down, and now I'm going to put my first piece of vinyl that'll be on the top. I will just line it right up against the top edge of the zipper with the right side facing up and stitch the tack down. And now the next step will be for the bottom piece of vinyl. You'll do the same, just line it right up along the edge of the zipper at the bottom of the hoop. Now I'm just stitching the details on the front of the title page, and it's just going to say my coloring book. If you just sat down to do it, you could whip together a whole book in about an hour. I was thinking about getting a bunch of my coloring books made up because I was wanting to do a craft fair. So I was thinking about making up a bunch of title pages and coloring pages and stuff, and then setting up a little section in my booth that people can build their own, so they can just go through and pick the different coloring pages and pick whatever title page they want and just kind of make a book for and an eraser, and just make a book for however much I decide. I don't really know how much to sell them for. I was thinking about $20 for a book, maybe for a title page and 4 coloring pages or something. It's kind of a build your own book, I guess. Now we've jumped back up here to the top. So that's what we look like. And I've got a few more little jumps to trim, but nothing big. So one jump from here to there, and then from there to there. And I just trimmed those as I went along. But it's just a little bean stitch lettering to make it quick to stitch. So now we are going to open our zipper and trim away the stabilizer from the inside. This does not get turned. Our back piece, you'll see in just a minute, our back piece gets put on the back of the hoop, so it does not get turned, but that makes it even more important for you to make sure to trim the stabilizer before you put the back on. And I do just use tearaway stabilizer, and after I get it made, I kind of reach inside and try to peel out from the top and bottom sections. I try to peel out the stabilizer from in there. If you were to use cutaway, you could just leave it and it would be a nice clean look on the inside. But I just use tearaway for everything. Or I say for everything, not really for everything, but for most of everything. Okay, so there we are, and I've got my stabilizer trim for my zipper path. And I'm going to put just another piece of vinyl on the back of the hoop. And I used basting spray just to kind of hold it in place. It doesn't seem like it's going to want to stick today though, so let's tape it. So that's the front, and there's the back. It is right side out, away from the hoop. So it's wrong sides towards the hoop. Does that make sense? Oh, y'all are falling over. Okay. Okay. So it's right side out on the back of the hoop. My zipper is open, and I'm going to go ahead and stitch the tack down for the backing now. You have to kind of watch when you go around the ends of the zippers. It might want to grab on your presser foot, so be real careful and just kind of watch that. That way it doesn't fold up on that corner. Okay, so I've got my backing tacked down on the title page, and now the last step is the placement for the holes. You will need binder rings, and I have found the binder rings at the Dollar Tree even for a pack of, I think, 12 of them. This one's the 1 inch. So these are the 1 inch. This one is the one that comes from the Dollar Tree. And they leave about that much room with 4 coloring pages and the title page. It gives it, you know, a nice room to turn. And I also use these really big ones. Let's see what they measure. These are the 2 inch. Okay. So these are the 2 inch. And if you wanted to put, you know, more pages or build it up anymore, you could. And I got those, the 2 inch ones, I think I got on Amazon. And I actually believe I've linked those in my favorite things blog post too. Okay. So there we are. That's our front, and that's the back. Front and back. While I trim it, I did bring my little rotating mat over here to this table so you could see how I trim them up. And I'm going to pull off all my tearaway stabilizer. Y'all can see, right? Yeah. Tape. I have 2 different garbages. One's over here on this side for my stabilizer and stuff, and the other one is on my right for regular garbage. I saved my stabilizer for scrap use. So I just trim it up with my rotary cutter and ruler. I hope y'all can see me okay. So I just line my rotary cutter up with on the 1/8 of an inch right on the seam line, and then just use my rotary cutter and trim it straight across. And see how clean that makes that edge? And I'll do that all the way around. I just line it up with the 1/8 of an inch mark on the ruler and zip it right on down through there. See that? All all the way around. And move your zipper over to the other side. That way it's not in the way of your ruler, and it helps a ton. See there? And then you can use either one of these hole punches. I have two. I have this Big Bite Crocodile that does 2 different size punches. It does a 3/16 or a 1/8 of an inch hole. And if I use that one, I'll use the 3/16, or I'll use this little handheld punch, and it punches a 1/4 of an inch holes, which this is what I'm going to use today. It opens, so I like to look in there to make sure I get my hole lined up just right. On this one you can see it as well, but I just like using this little handheld one too. But I'll just line it up and right inside that ring. See, it stitched the hole, but I just went ahead and punched it out with my hole punch. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. Just like that. And I did use, I say a lot of the times, I think on the directions it even says to use matching bobbin thread if it, if you don't want it to show on the back. But I did not, because I wanted to be able to show you what it looks like. So there is white bobbin here, and this is the back, but you can barely even see it, because when it does that bean stitch, it kind of hides most of the bobbin. So that is, anyway, that is the title page. And now we're going to go ahead and do a coloring page. Alright. So I've got my submarine coloring page loaded. And the first thing that we're going to stitch using black thread still is the placement lines for your materials. And I'm using white felt and 12 gauge clear vinyl. I have tried using, some people like to be thrifty and use a shower curtain, and I have done that. I do have some of that vinyl cut and set aside, but it is rather thin, and after multiple uses and folding and stuff, it will break and rip apart from the stitching. So you do want to use at least a 12 gauge. That way it holds up to the stitching a little bit better. Now what I've done, I've got my placement stitches, and I'm going to lay my felt down and then the clear vinyl right on top of it. And I'm going to kind of hold it in place to make sure it doesn't shift, and stitch the tack down. Okay, so we've got it tacked down now. I've got my vinyl on, my felt is behind it, and the vinyl is on top, and still using the black thread, I'm going to stitch my submarine design right on top of all that vinyl and everything. So we've got our design done. It does have a few little jumps. Like I said, my machine does not cut jumps, but they are easily trimmable. I'm just trimming those up now, and then I'm going to put the backing on. So there's our little submarine coloring page, and I'm going to spray the back with basting spray and stick my backing on right side out. And I'll go ahead and stitch that final step, and it'll do the tack down for the backing and the rings in one. It does go all the way around with a bean stitch for this final tack down. That's why it takes a little bit longer. So now I'm just going to clear my stabilizer off. And trim that jump between the rings. So now I'm going to use my rotary cutter again and ruler and just line up the 1/8 of an inch ruler along the, the 1/8 of an inch line on the ruler along the stitch line. And then just use my rotary cutter to trim off the excess. So there's my completed coloring page. So this is a dry erase marker. See how that turns out? And it stays on there nice and solid when you write on it. And this, well, this one is washable. See how you can see the wetness? You know how it kind of bubbles up or whatever? It doesn't go on in a solid line. It does wipe off easily. I should have went ahead and made the eraser to show you. But you make a little eraser out of felt and then you can just wipe it off. And see, the dry erase actually comes off cleaner too. So you can use washable markers, but I prefer dry erase. And they do come in a variety of colors as well. You just have to find them. Walmart, I know, has a nice big pack of dry erase markers in a variety of colors. See, and you just wipe it off with your felt eraser, which we are going to make right now. Let's see how chalk does. Oh, these chalk markers might not even work. No, there they go. So that's a chalk marker. I might be wrong about that. It might turn out pretty good, actually. Let's see how it erases. I wonder how, if they're left to dry though, how it'll turn out. We'll see how it erases. Okay, wet, it erases nicely. That's good. Now let's color on here. That's so cute, y'all. I kind of like the chalk markers. Okay, I'm going to let that sit and dry while we make the eraser. The erasers are all in one size. They all are done in a 4x4. Which, you know, that just kind of makes sense because you don't need a gigantic eraser. So I'm also going to be doing this in black thread again. And the eraser is a good place for you to get creative if you want to add a little bit of color in, because you can do, you know, whatever color threads you want, but do take notice after the felt eraser is used, it will get ugly. Okay, that's just how it's gonna be. I tend to use black erasers a lot of the time. I'll use black felt to make my erasers with. That way they don't look as bad after they're used. But just for the sake of this video, I'm doing them in white just because I want to. Okay, so the first step for the eraser is the placement line for your little ribbon loop that will be at the top here. And I will show you. I put my little ribbon loop down, and I just taped it down with the raw edge hanging inside and the loop to the outside here. And I'll go ahead and stitch that tack down. The next step is the placement for your felt. Okay, so I've got my placement line stitched, and now I'm just going to go ahead and put my felt down right on top, covering everything, and stitch the tack down. And now the particular eraser that I'm using right now just says eraser across the middle of it. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch that detail now. Alright, so there's the main part of my eraser. I'm just going to trim up my little jumps. Not really necessary at this point, but I like to do it as I go. And now we are going to put our piece of felt on the back of the hoop for the back of the eraser. And stitch the tack down for that, for the backing. And at this point, there's two ways to do the end. You can either, it ends with a satin stitch like this, and you can do it one of two ways. You can go ahead and stitch the satin stitch around it and then just trim it out like a felty, or you can trim your front and back felt now, which is what I'm going to do, and then stitch that satin. So I'm just going to go ahead and trim all the way around my design. And it's really personal preference on how you want it to look. And then just flip it to the back and do the same thing. Trim it all the way around. So I just trim all the excess all the way up to the stitch line, just like when you're doing an applique. I just find doing it this way, it turns out a little bit neater when you trim it beforehand. If you stitch the tack down, or if you stitch the satin stitch and then go around it, of course you've got all that raw edge. And I think this just looks cleaner. And stitch my final step, which is that satin stitching that goes all the way around the eraser. And we are done. So there's our eraser, and that satin stitch, it makes it come out of the hoop. Like tear away, it's done. It comes out just about on its own. And that's why it's the last step. Okay, so it's done, but it does leave some fuzzies around the edge. Okay. I'll heat seal my edges just real quick to get rid of those fuzzies. And see, it's nice and clean now. Our coloring page, our title page, and now I just need to make a few more coloring pages and I'll have myself a full book. Let's see how this wipes off. Oh goodness, y'all, it does come off. And it was dry, by the way. I was going to show you that, but I didn't. It leaves a little tint of pink, or you know, a little tint of color. So as they're coloring, it's, you know, probably not going to wipe totally clean, but for an after playtime is over and mom wants to clean it up, you can use alcohol to clean it off completely. So after coloring, you know, during, it might leave a little tint on there, but afterwards, if you use a little bit of alcohol Not the kids. The kids cannot use the alcohol. Just moms and dads. Then that'll clean it up. Almost good as new. Chalk markers for the win? Or no? I still like dry erase better. And like I said, the dry erase do come in a variety of colors too. And I do recommend the dry erase over the washable. They just turn out so much better and clean off so much easier too. Alright, well, this has been a great video. I'm glad y'all joined me, and I will see you next time. Have a good day. Bye.